I'd like to introduce Jim Cooper very briefly. He's President and CEO of Maplesoft, so founder of many successful companies in the world of animation in the previous life. And I think that'll do for an introduction. Jim.
Okay, thank you for coming. I'm going to, hope you can see the screen, so let me just do a bit of shifting. Yeah. Okay. So everyone can see the screen, hear me. Okay, first off, my name is Jim Cooper, President of Maplesoft. Feel free to stop me at any point in time with questions. I'd like to make this as interactive as possible. This is a quote I've used many times before. Education is the most powerful tool to change the world. And education is moving online. So it makes that tool even more powerful. Over 20 million college and university students today are fully online. And I think even more importantly, a third of students who are normal on-campus students are taking at least one course online. So it's more of a hybrid combination of both internet-served online material with face-to-face instruction. And in North America, or in the US, 70% of the chief academic officers consider online education to be their #1 priority. So it's almost a statement of the past at this point, but education is rapidly moving online. A quote from the Financial Times, two things are happening. First, because of the revolution of digital technology making education more available, coupled with economics of there's an emerging middle class, the number of students are expected to triple over the next 10 years. So, I mean, it's something that everyone in this room will be dealing with in the next 10 years, what we're seeing right now in North America. And there's a good chance, I mean, this is a question mark, could education be disrupted? Many things have been disrupted. Newspapers, taxis, hotel bookings over the last 5 years. Now, education is probably going to move a bit more slowly, but there's a good chance that education will look extremely different 10 years from now compared to what it looks like today or last year. Students today are very much digital natives, right? Like they're very at home in having everything available when they want it on any device. They expect education, as they enter the education system, to be as connected as the rest of their lives. There's also a huge trend towards bring your own device. I grew up in an era where we had, computers were supplied for us, or they were something that only a few or a percentage of the population had. Today, pretty well it's universal access, and students bring their own device. And those devices are varied, between smartphones to iPads to laptops and everything in between. Digital journals are expected to replace printed journals entirely in the next 5 to 10 years. And everyone producing print journals today are quickly moving over to fully digital versions of their output. Over the next 10 years, it's predicted that the majority of undergraduate textbooks will be online, either as a full textbook or as a number of components that will make up an educational course. And I think before, a few years ago when you talked about online education, people had this mindset that it was all online, to have a student in some location remote to the campus. But I think the reality is online courses are taught as a hybrid, a lot of face-to-face, but what makes sense to be consumed online is done that way. So it's a combination of face-to-face with online course materials. And this can allow more time, more quality time for face-to-face interaction, and allowing a great deal of we'll say the traditional lecture where you're actually presenting the material to be presented offline, or like not face-to-face, online at a different time. And it also allows for adaptive learning, so different students can move through the material at a completely different rate. I'll be talking a little bit more about our content store, and we're gathering analytics. But one of the things that has come out very strong in the last about year that we've been gathering solid analytical data, it doesn't seem that there are really fast students and poor students. It's actually students will move through different materials at different rates. What seemed to have been like what you would think to be a good student, he actually will slow down for different pieces of the material. So we're getting data not only on the results, on whether there's good comprehension of the materials, but we're also getting data on how quickly students can move through different course materials. So why online? A number of reasons. We feel that online materials can be measured. So you actually have a feedback loop. As opposed to just being my opinion and your opinion to what is good and what is bad, we can actually gather data to distinguish good from bad and actually good from great. And the great material will most likely be reused in other online courses. So we feel that online teaching can actually improve the quality of the content because of this feedback loop. Also, awareness. Many campuses, universities, educational institutions worldwide realize that online teaching allows them to export their brand. They can reach the best and brightest students, in their core disciplines anywhere in the world. They can use this as a feeding system or an outreach program where they can take the best and brightest in their either in their high school years or in their first year and then bring them onto the campus via this online outreach of materials. And of course there's savings. The scalability of online materialism is very good. The same cost to teach 10 students versus 1,000 students approximately. So not only can you save time and save money, you can hopefully produce better results. So some challenges for STEM related courses. First, it needs to handle many different levels of math, everything from middle school all the way up to grad level mathematics. And most STEM concepts are very abstract, so there's many different ways of presenting the concepts. So the goal is to put tools at the instructor's fingertips to allow them to demonstrate these concepts in various ways. We also believe in our souls that for STEM concepts to truly sink in, that the student learns by doing. It's not enough just to present the material. The student actually has to interact with the material, work with the material, and they learn it in this doing exercise. And we feel there's a great place for a math engine to both better visualize data, to do automatic marking, to do solving, to allow materials to be presented in novel ways. So we feel having a strong, capable math engine underlying the learning system is incredibly important if you're dealing with mathematics or if you're dealing with STEM courses. So yeah, we do feel that STEM is somewhat different than other materials. The concepts are abstract, they're complicated, and they do cause various students difficulties in different portions of their course. Online materials allow students to receive more information, more help in the areas that they are having trouble with. So, and just as importantly, to move through the materials quickly if they're not having trouble. We found that student engagement dropped off if courses are taught too slowly. So that the speed that the material can be absorbed is incredibly important. If they know this material, they have to be able to move through it quickly. I'm not sure this is a word, but the easiest method towards student disengagement is to force them to watch a video at a given pace on material they already know. So Maplesoft has a very long history. We came out with Maple, our core product, in the mid-1980s, initially as a research project from the University of Waterloo. But very quickly it developed, so today we have over 1 million students per year that are using Maple-based materials in their educational program. And we feel that at the time, in the 80s and 90s, we revolutionized education. We gave it an environment where you could explore concepts, you could visualize it in different ways. So in the last 10 years, we've extended that so that the materials can be viewed on all different devices, every type thing from iPads to smartphones to laptop materials with different operating systems. And we feel that we're in a unique position to offer tools to make online education better, to allow better courses to be made in less time. So we feel there's 4 major components to developing online materials. There is, of course, the first is the exposition. Like, here's the concept. It's text, it's visualization, explains what the student needs to learn. Then there's exploration, an ability to have students interact with the materials, potentially to be quizzed and tested on it, or simply giving them a method that they can explore the materials interactively. Then there's the doing drill and practice, doing exercises, potentially having embedded inline questions that will adapt the course flow. It'll adapt what materials you present to the student next. And then, of course, formative or summative high-stakes testing at the end. So we consider that the testing and assessment of students throughout the process is extremely important. The ability of being able to quiz the student on something they've just learned, and then to understand their degree of comprehension at the time. Also to do online summative assessment of just how well they've understood the materials. So it's incredibly important to have testing and assessment embedded into your online materials. We have 2 products, but effectively 3 products. Mobius, which is our courseware system, tools to help you develop better online courses and to deploy those online courses, and Maple TA, which is focused on testing and assessment. Both those products have Maple embedded in them, so it allows you to use all the power that is within the symbolic numeric math engine of Maple to visualize, to do automatic testing and grading. You can use it in numerous ways, but Maple is fully embedded in both Mobius and Maple TA. So as I said before, students, we feel, learn by doing. This can be a lot of questions, lots of low-stake drill and practice questions, but it can also be high-stake testing. The results of their testing can be used in what is presented next to them, or it can simply be a method to inform the student of what he has understanding of today. So I'd like to, Mobius is a new product for us. It's used by some of our lead schools, and have been used for the last year, but we will be officially releasing it in June this year. So this is sort of our start of introducing Mobius to other schools. It's really 2 major components. One is tools for authoring content. So it allows you to author highly engaging, highly visual content in an easy-to-use environment. But it also then is an environment for you to deploy that content. So in that deployment, it has all the infrastructure to allow you to deploy the online content, but it allows you to decide how students can move through the material. Whether they have to, for example, pass a given section before they see the next, or whether they can just browse all the material at their will. So it allows the instructor a great deal of control on how that material is deployed. And then connected to both is the content exchange. So this is a database of both course units, or course content, as well as question banks. It currently has over 20,000 question banks in it now, where as a professor you can take these pre-made questions and use them in your courses. You can also share content that you've developed in the content exchange, and everything in that exchange we gather analytics on. I mean, if you make it open and public, we gather analytics on how many times a given question banks have been taken, the pass-fail rates, the time that people move through those question banks. And the goal is, as we gather more and more analytics, that we can determine what material is great and what material can be reused. Go ahead.
So how's the stuff on the content exchange, how is that licensed and funded?
Well, it depends. The answer, okay, the question was for everyone, how is the material licensed and used? So it's your content, it's your IP, and you can decide. Basically, you can make it freely open for anyone to reuse and edit. You can make it freely open but locked, so it can, it may potentially branded to your name, to your school, and just reused. It can also, there is like effectively an iTunes model where you can sell the content, and there's a 70-30 revenue share of selling the content. So it really is up to you how the content that you put into the exchange is shared, or even whether you put it into the exchange at all. Any other questions? We do feel that one of the advantages of having it in the exchange is this constant set of analytics that we will gather over time and make that available both on the courses but also right down to individual questions. So the deployment options, we use the LTI connector, and so you can deploy it in sort of the learning management system of your choice. We're very focused on Mobius as a courseware system. It allows you to make better courses, but we have no stake on any particular organizational learning management system. So we've ensured that Mobius can plug into any of your existing learning management systems. Like our focus, and it's different from a learning management system, which is focused on organizing both the campus and the students' lives. We're very focused on developing tools to produce better online courses, tools to make these courses faster, tools to make these courses more engaging for your students. Where we feel that Mobius can save time, so you can bring courses online faster, but also improve the quality. So actually have better, more engaging, more effective courses deployed online. So Mobius generally, it's infrastructure. It allows a system for developing content, putting that content online, putting that content into the content exchange. It's course materials, so it's tools for developing courses in different ways. Every unit can be use different tools to develop the course content. It's collaboration tools. Excuse me. So it allows students to interact with each other, with a professor. So normal social chat, but with math awareness. So the math editor is available in all these tools. Assignments, tests, quizzes are all part of Mobius. A grade book that follows each student as they move through the course material. And of course analytics on how those students are doing, how the different pieces of content are being used, how courses are being, how successful courses are. Sorry, go ahead.
So can you just explain about the collaboration tools? So students can chat
Yeah, it allows the normal social communication between professor, class, professor to individual students. Also allows students to work in teams and groups, or just to communicate on their assignments or quizzes or materials. It's really no different of any other social set of tools, except it is math aware. So you can use mathematics, you have full access to the math editor embedded in those tools. So as the goal, anything in the content exchange which is used and open, we will gather and publish those analytics. So we're hoping that over time this will allow us to both distinguish and to understand what content is working extremely well. It also will gather analytics on the entire path a student takes through the material. So not only will we have analytics on particular pieces of course content, but we will have analytics on the entire class or the entire student path through materials. We're hoping both this data can be used to make better courses for continuous improvement moving into the future.
So how do you define when a piece of courseware is good?
Well, it's a good question. So the question is, what does make good courseware? And there's many measures. One can just be a pass rate. Of course, you can easily achieve that just by making it easy. You definitely outliers are something we look for. If students move through it too quickly or too slowly, both of those are indicators that something is wrong. We do have measures of student engagement, of whether or not students like the material, whether they move through it in a consistent time factor, and whether the pass rate, the comprehension rate, is in norms. So there's no absolute good or bad, but there's lots of indicators that you can use.
So that sort of stuff, if you've got lots of different colleges, universities coming into the system.
Yeah, worldwide.
So how can you distinguish between, if something looks like the students are going through it very quickly, it could be that maybe, well, there's a lot of students out there from universities that aren't so great, don't have such good students, or...
Yeah, it could be, and where it's only a sort of a year of data, and we expect it to accelerate greatly in 2016. But you're right. We're looking at different regions, of whether or not. So it'll be interesting data if material works extremely well in Australia and for some reason doesn't work in North America. But it isn't obvious, to the why that might be. But it would be interesting data. I think that what we like here is it makes the data available in a very diverse group, and also it truly is big data. Some of the question banks that we currently have in TA have been taken literally hundreds of thousands of times. So you do get a feel for what the norm is very quickly, and you're able to identify outliers. But there's probably a lot more. These are early days.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot more we can do.
Do you also ask the students directly, like, what do you think about this course?
Yeah. Like there's the tools to do that embedded. I'm not sure if I personally put a lot of faith in them.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see this superseding Maple TA?
Well, I got a few slides on that. So the question is, do you see it superseding Maple TA? And yeah, let me go on to what might be the next slide. Okay, but yes, what we feel Mobius and Maple TA can do is reduce the amount of time that it takes you to develop engaging online courses. We feel the materials will be graphically more appealing, more interactive, and simply be more engaging to the students. And it provides you feedback, data on how that material is used. Now, Mobius and TA, so the question was, how are they different? First off, the next version of TA will be released in April, early April of 2016, and the first release of Mobius is in June of 2016. After that, we will release them together on the same dates. They're designed to coexist. Schools that are only interested in testing and assessment can continue on with TA. Schools that want to use a tool to help them develop online courses would then expand to Mobius. So TA is aimed purely at testing and assessment, but the same version of TA is always included in Mobius. So Mobius you could think of as a superset. And it's directed at people developing courses and deploying courses online. Any content that it works in TA will work in Mobius. So if you have a question bank that is in TA, you can move that over to a course and embed those same questions in the course. So they will simply work. And as I said, they'll share a future release date. So the concept is that we'll bring out Mobius and TA at the same time. They will always have the same question types, methods in both products. Does that answer it? And of course, each have full access to all the functionality of Maple. So Maple is embedded in both products. Some key features of Mobius and TA, full accessibility. This is a very large issue in North America. I'm sure it is here as well. Visually impaired, hearing impaired. The products have been designed to deal with that. Multiple devices and operating system, so everything is written out in HTML5, aimed at being able to deploy these courses on any device. So any operating system, any type of device. Analytics, as we've talked about, the ability of measuring and hopefully improving the learning experience. The ability of developing adaptive course material. Because the TA section has the ability of automatically marking how a student has done within the course itself, you can decide to make your course adaptive. So you can present different materials depending on the testing outcome of an inline quiz. So the ability of making an adaptive course progression for your students. And the content exchange, so where you can share, buy, sell content, currently with over 20,000 question banks in it, with the questions banks rated depending on usage, and more being added to it every day.
Can the people using this product, the teachers, can they rate the problem banks? Like, I thought these were really good bunch of problems, regardless of all the analytics that you have on them.
Say it again. I didn't quite understand.
I'm still saying. Maybe I don't trust the big data database.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe what I actually want is I want the experience of the teachers using this material to upvote or downvote problem banks, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Does it let you do that as well?
I'm sorry, maybe I'm being thick. I'm still not. So you want a comment from the author?
A situation where I might, let's say I use this problem bank in my course.
Yeah.
And I go, well, that's sucked. And I put a little mark saying, no, thumbs down, that was not a good problem bank. And the next time someone comes along, they'll see, well, 300 people said this was good, 200 people said it was bad, that kind of thing.
Well, definitely, it has a rating system for content. So, the author, can control that. So it's a 0 to 5 star system. So people using the content can rate it, and much like you do on your, best movies, I guess. So that is embedded in the system. Is that was the question?
I think so, yeah.
So you do get a star rating on each piece of content on each course, which is a summary of how different people have used the material and then rated it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, more than just pass, fail, and time.
Yes.
Yeah. Good point. I guess that should be in part of the slides. So we feel that this is more applicable. I mean, we feel it's applicable to all of education, but we feel it's more applicable to STEM education, where students truly learn by doing. And also, if you have hard sciences where there's a hard question, it allows you to do adaptive course progression. So we feel that the abilities of how you can teach a STEM course are greater than courses that do not use mathematics. Yeah, so I think we've talked a bit about this. So Mobius, its goal is to be an end-to-end courseware system. Tools for you to develop better courses, and then tools to deploy those courses. What you do is really up to you. So it's been designed to allow you to develop an entire online textbook that would go with your course, or you can use it just to design a small supplement for an existing textbook, or anywhere in between. So we've tried to make it flexible to the author of the content itself. So just quickly go over some of the components of the feature set, and I'm not the expert of the feature set. One is voiced over slideshow authoring. So these can include questions embedded in them, math apps, but it's the ability of having material appear as you provide content for the course, and have a voiceover that you record alongside with materials, allowing you to stop at any point for example, the student to interact with a math app or to answer a question. So it gives you the tools to lay down a lecture, a voice, to materials that would come up in a slideshow type of progression. Yeah, so anything you want to include in your lessons, so the ability of putting interactive math apps, other web content, slideshows are all included within Mobius. Live chat, discussion forum, and what's unique here is also gives the students access to the equation editor in those forums. Calendar, so quizzes and tests can appear automatically on the student calendar with due dates. The content exchange that we've talked about. Some new question types, HTML5, a clickable image, some sorting question types I'll give a few bit more data on. There's a new assignment creation workflow, which we feel is a bit more streamlined. We've added new tools for grading essays and to allow students to scan in their own work, their own paperwork. And of course, direct connection to Maple, any version above 2015. So the content exchange, it's better content navigation, ratings and stars, and beginning with over 20,000 question banks, but being added to all the time. New question types, HTML5, you can author any content you wish in HTML5. Also more for developmental math, drag and drop, question type, and a new HTML5 clickable image. You can create questions directly in the assignment editor to save time. And a new suite of tools for annotating essay questions and to scan in paper-based responses from students. Better connection with Maple, so math apps can be directly uploaded or downloaded from Mobius and from TA. So in general, as I said, we feel education is changing. Definitely online components will be a big section of most courses going into the future. and we feel that we have the potential to improve that educational experience as we make the transition to online materials. There's a great advantage in leveraging a consistent course development and deployment method. We feel that Mobius provides you tools to develop very rich and engaging course material, which can improve the student engagement and student experience with them, and at the same time capture analytics and performance data as the students move through the courses. Hopefully saving time and improving results at the same time. And with that, questions please.
When entering notes, for example, you've got a file that's written in LaTeX.
Yep.
You didn't explain clearly what the equation editor you were talking about. Is it LaTeX compatible?
We can read in LaTeX, again, but it's our own equation editor. So it's this same equation editor which is used in Maple.
So if I have a set of notes that I think are quite good and I want to put them straight on the computer,
Yes.
can I put them in LaTeX, or can I PDF them and put a PDF file in? I don't want to have to retype all.
Yeah, no, I fully understand. You know, I think I would like to get back to you on, I believe the answer is yes. I believe the answer is if you got LaTeX notes, we can just bring those in. But I would like to, before saying that absolutely, yeah, it's something that later on maybe I'll get a contact and ask the,
That's a really important
yeah.
petitions because
So if the questions are written in LaTeX, you've got a LaTeX converter online, so you can convert your LaTeX file into a TA file, .qu file, right? It becomes a question file. But if you have notes written in it,
yes.
that's something that we need to check for that.
Yeah.
Questions is not a problem, because if the question is tagged well in LaTeX file, that would go into the TA as a QU file.
Yeah, it was more the notes I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more the notes that you're,
Yeah.
so I believe the answer is yes, but let me check. Yes.
Sounds like you're sort of really focused on the online course aspect.
Yes.
You also have lectures and tutorials. So is the only benefit from this once our students have walked out of our lecture rooms, or is there aspects of this that can help improve the lectures while students are also sitting?
You know, one part, you know, is the fact, I mean, okay, if I understood the question, like, is there anything after the students leave the lecture? But the other is, so one aspect is that the data that we're gathering can be real time. So you can deploy, for example, a question to your entire class during the lecture itself and receive back the response rate instantaneously in real time. So if you want to pose a question and know what percentage of the class understood it, you can do that in real time. So that would be an example of something that would help during the lecture itself. You also have the ability of making the materials available whenever you want. I mean, so once they leave the lecture, you know, these materials can live on and be, you know, web accessible forever, depending on your choice.
And the content you create would also incorporate into your presentations in class in sort of PowerPoints or whatever format you
So in the
Yeah.
Mobius, you have the ability to create a slideshow or even a lecture structure. If you want to do that in tutorial style, or that be a slide style, or handouts given to them, it's more likely what PowerPoint gives you, it does give that ability to create that in the web environment. You're not sitting on a standalone desktop publishing the integration, sitting on that environment.
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. I mean, you absolutely can do that. The voiceover feature, it's designed so that you can lay out how you want the materials to be presented and for you to record your voice, but you don't have to do that. You could just use those materials and you could lecture to them if you wished. Yeah.
We have a question
like to know how does Mobius fit in or relate to Google platforms like Coursera, edX, or Future.
Could you repeat the question? So,
How does Mobius relate to other, or how does Mobius relate to MOOC platforms?
Books.
MOOCs.
Platform, how do you compare that?
It has all the, again, Mobius is meant to deliver better courses with embedded testing. You can test, any level, any number of students. It's like there's no limit to the scalability. So from that narrow view of a MOOC, it's a massively online course environment or a testing environment. It's more than that, though. I mean, it's aimed at developing tools to provide better courses. It's more than just the online testing environment.
And if I just add into that, Daniel, the question types that you have in TA, which is more than 15 times, Coursera is not really designed towards mathematically driven environment. You could do a course, you could do an arts or humanity course on that, but for engineering courses where you need applicable maths, and you need to have proper natural notation environment, that's where the theoreticians come in.
But in some ways, it's even a better environment for that, because if it is a mathematical-based question, you can automatically grade it. So you don't have to have the human side. Now, not all questions obviously are applicable to that, but if it is, it does allow a much larger class to be served online.
The mathematical correctness is what Maple does behind as an agent, which Coursera.
Yeah, even the ability of being able to allow a student to answer a math question in any format and to know absolutely the equivalence between the answer and the correct answer is a powerful, a simple but a powerful feature. Yes.
How do you deal with plagiarism and cheating? Because they're online, a lot of people are little company and just puts something. How do you prevent that?
Yeah, like how do you so how do you prevent cheating?
Well, I'm not preventing it, but how do you take that into consideration with your grades, right? You're doing online assessments, and there's somebody who's supposed to cheat for the whole assessment.
Yeah,
How do you do that?
it's a online cheating is a huge thing. So what we do is we work directly with every campus that that are using Mobius and TA, and they all have different policies. We have a partnership program with various online proctoring companies. So there's different ways you can approach it when you want to have accreditation added to the course. So we really provide tools to ensure that courses can be proctored, so that video feeds can be brought in during testing. But every campus has their own guidelines and policies. So really, we just support what it is you would like to do for high stakes testing, and it's a big issue. And we've been, I would say that the lead campuses are using Mobius now. We are constantly providing them new tools to make that high stakes testing more solid. Yeah, but there's no absolute answer. Yeah.
And also randomization and algorithmically generated questions. That might be one way to deal with that. Because you do get these question generated randomized.
That definitely helps in drill and practice. Especially for low stakes. But when it is, like I think we're talking about granting a degree to someone that is remote, you want to somehow ensure that someone isn't in the same room helping them. So I think it's, independent of whether it's a randomly generated question or not. But I don't. You probably don't follow it, but like one of our lead universities is University of Waterloo, and it's been massively in the news in the last 6 months or so, where they've expelled a number of students for, not for cheating, they've expelled students for helping students cheat. And so it's been a massive news item in Canada for the last 6 months, and we've been just under the radar, but very much at the center of it.
You know, there's a Maple for your iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to update it like it's Maple 4 or 3 or 2.
Yeah, we have a new version coming out in August.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, like so. That is coming out in August. I said Maple 2016 is coming out in March. Maple TA in April, and Mobius in June, and then the August release. Okay, thank you. Maybe just one thing. I just had one more slide. We do have an online summit, which is very focused on TA usage, but is now morphing into more of an online summit. Our next one is in Vienna in October, so 19th to the 21st of October. So if anyone is interested and would care to join us for this conference, it's been a very good area for debate. You can definitely, many things are posted. Coming to Vienna is a better option. So this will be happening this October, so I would encourage you to come if you can.
Can I ask a big picture question? Right?
Absolutely.
When you said at the beginning, you talked about disruptive technologies and taxis, there aren't going to be any taxi drivers in this many years and so on. But the fact that we've got to come to Vienna, when do you think this is going to change?
Here's a better question. Why do I get on a plane and fly to Australia? I'm sure it's the same in Australia as it is in North America. You're right. In theory, we have all the tools, for doing things remotely. Airports in North America are massively busy, busier than they've ever been before. I bet Australia is the same way. So it's a good question, and I honestly don't know. But if I could avoid a 20-hour flight, I would be happy to do it.
Right at the start of the presentation, you said there's some things that should be, face-to-face, and some things that should be online. And those things that are good online, we should have them online. And those things that aren't good online, face-to-face. Maybe this is some of the answers to that question. Something nice about going and talking to people, which is
Yeah.
you hear in the room with us instead of watching you on the screen, because you can interact with you and ask you questions.
One of the surprises we had, was the fact that the majority of people consuming this are not distance education people. They're kids, they're students on campus. They consume a lot of this material at odd hours online, but they're still on campus for that campus experience. And it just, I think, frees up more time for a higher quality of face-to-face instruction. So, we're social animals. I'm not sure it's ever going to totally change. Okay, thank you. Do you have a card, and I'll get back to you on your. I should have known.
That's a main, because,
Mobius
have thousands of pages of
Yes.
tech that we've done during our career.
You're not the only one. Thank you. I'll try to give you a definite answer and have it sent to you.
One of the other, I'm retiring in a couple of years, instead of doing it at retirement, is taking some more advanced level courses and